This evening is emblematic of the days when we all were on the staff of the Mississippian, trying to get order out of chaos. So glad all of you are here. We got about 100 more people at dinner than we had this morning for the program. That may say something. That may say something about our keynote speaker. It might even say something about our entertainment, Tricia. But whiskey tonight. That's never stopped a Mississippian staff member before, even when it was illegal. Many of you got to hear Sparky Reardon's, shall we say, eloquent insight into journalism this morning as he discussed his overall philosophy, not only of life, but as a summer editor of the Mississippian, in which he said that he and his staff perfected the use of half-page pictures. And so it is with that spirit of half-page pictures that we bring on Sparky, who is a leader at Ole Miss and has been for a long time. Sparky.
Thank you, Charles. It's great to be here. The chancellor was asked to do this, and he was out of town, and the provost was asked to do it, and he was out of town, and the vice chancellor of student affairs was asked to do it, and he's out of town. So, like lots of things at Ole Miss, it was kind of give it to Sparky. I'm kind of like the Mikey commercial, and when they asked me if I would address this occasion, it was please don't throw me in the briar patch. I want to be here. I want to do this because I have so many friends, not only friends with whom I served on the Daily Mississippian, but also heroes to whom I looked up to, and and also students after that with whom I dealt. So it's great to be here. I welcome you back to an Ole Miss that's far different than many of you experienced. I heard Ed Williams talking this morning about his campaign, and that it was used against him that he was out of state, that he wasn't a Mississippian. Next year we'll welcome a freshman class that will be almost 40% out of state. And I was talking to Sidna and told her just a minute ago that the number of students who are coming from places like New York and New Jersey, the Eastern Shore, California, we're seeing students who are recognizing that Ole Miss is a great deal and that they want to be here. So enrollment next year will be, not supposed to say this officially with all the journalists in the room, but yeah, it's probably going to be about 500 more than last year, which is the largest class we've ever had, freshman class. And it's exciting, but it's also a challenge to do that. Part of the reasons, the things that we have to offer, the Sally McDonald Barksdale Honors College that you heard Norman Seawright talk about today, the Croft Institute, which is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for our students, the Trent Lott Leadership Institute, which I refer to as the Trentagon, and part of the reason that we've done that is because we've taken gambles. We've done things under Robert Kayat's leadership. We took gambles doing things that people weren't doing, that Ole Miss had never done before. This summer we're trying something that'll be very interesting. We're having the first ever common reading experience for incoming freshmen. And the freshmen, if you want to join them, will be reading The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, for those of you who have read it. We have the author coming to speak at a freshman convocation. So it's a different Ole Miss than many of you knew. Some things haven't changed about Ole Miss. It's still the friendliest campus anywhere. It's still the most loving campus anywhere. It's still the most beautiful campus anywhere. It still needs a new union. I left here in 1972 with watching Steve Guyton go for what became the union that we have now, and I'm afraid I'm going to leave in a couple years and we'll still be wanting for a new union. So there are some things that haven't changed. Most of the good things I don't think will ever change because we're Ole Miss people. and that's what counts. I'd like to particularly welcome the members of the former DM staff. The DM has been very special to Ole Miss. As DM staff members, you're involved in a love triangle. A part of it's the love of truth, and part of it's the love of Ole Miss. And sometimes that can be a great challenge, as many people talked about this morning. But I will say this about the Daily Mississippian. All the things that I've talked about are because somebody pushed Ole Miss to move in that direction, to leave some things behind. And I think that the Daily Mississippian is the conscience that sat on the shoulders of the Lyceum for many, many years and whispered in its ear. And it's not always been pleasant for those of us who occupy those offices, but we respect it. The one thing that I've learned, particularly from my Mississippian experience, is that the truth and the freedom to tell that truth is precious and sacred. So sacred that we have people showing up like itinerant ministers, guys who get out in front of the Union and rave, the Ku Klux Klan. They come here because of those things. Porter Fortune fought for freedom of the press in 1970, 71, and that was important to us. And so we're very, very pleased that you're here this weekend. It's been a lot of fun. Welcome to Ole Miss, and hotty toddy.
Sparky, thank you, and thank you for all that you do for Ole Miss. The most important thing that I will tell you tonight is go ahead and start eating. We do this at the Freedom Forum in Washington, and what I tell people is go ahead and start eating, because if you don't, the waiter's going to take up your plate when we finish. So we have a few more people that want to say some things, but they'll say that as you're eating your salad. I didn't say talk, I just said eat. What was it about eating that got people to talk? I had control of this situation until just a minute ago. All right, so as you heard this morning, so many references to the faculty and to the professors in the journalism department, now the journalism school, as part of the overall Mississippian experience. And so it's only appropriate that we have the dean of the School of Journalism come and say a word, because that's such an important part of what we're doing. It's a great pleasure to introduce what I think is one of the great assets in the state of Mississippi, the new dean of the School of Journalism at Ole Miss, my friend, Will Norton.
We all know that one of the great things about the School of Journalism is that it has the Overby Center. When Charles doesn't know this, he was out of the room, but when the Freedom Forum board was discussing having the Overby Center come to Ole Miss, Paul Simon said, well, tell me a little bit about Charles' work in Mississippi. And I said, well, what he won is the Pulitzer for the coverage that the Clarion Ledger had that brought education reform, and his work with Governor William Winter. And Paul Simon is was a great friend of Charles and was for Charles, but when he said William Winter is involved with Charles Overby in his past, that guaranteed Paul Simon's vote. Having the Overby Center with us has meant a great deal to us because of the people that come in and who our students can hear and talk to. But as great as having the Overby Center here with us is to me, I can't tell you what it means to me to be here tonight and to see you all and to hear your stories and to get libeled by so many of you with the stories you tell about my behavior in my youth. I'm glad my children aren't here. Also, one of the first things that was a great experience for me was the opportunity to hire a distinguished journalist who left the University of Missouri, went to the Washington Post, and then was a teacher at Northwestern University for a long time, 6 years, and then went to the San Jose Mercury News. I would like to introduce for a few comments from Pat Thompson. Would you welcome Pat Thompson?
Thank you all so much for being here this weekend, and thank you for sharing your Mississippian experiences with me over the past few months. When Liz Shiver, Jim Autry, and I started the Souvenir Book Project, I didn't know how we were going to get it done in time. Then your front page recommendations and your letters started arriving. They were inspiring, funny, sad, touching, truly amazing. I was blown away. I knew I had to spend whatever time it took to help produce a publication that would honor your beautifully written words and your courageous actions. I learned so much in just a short time. Other than Liz and Jim, there were two other people who were key in producing the book. One is Dylan Parker, who works at Student Media and was the project designer. Dylan, are you here? Why don't you have us stand up, please? Dylan and I spent hours scanning front pages. Sometimes the microfilm worked, sometimes it didn't. So we frequently had to scan original pages. For those of you who have not seen the Mississippians from the 40s and 50s, they are huge. They are about this wide and this tall. And what that meant was that we had to, in some cases, scan 6 or 7 sections of one front page, and then Dylan had to put them all together like a big puzzle. So that took many, many hours of work. The other person who deserves a big thank you is David Bradley. I don't believe Mr. Bradley is here tonight, but I wanted to give him a very public thank you. This incredible man owns Funcraft Publishing in Collierville, and he donated his company's printing services to produce the book using the finest quality paper. This has been a true labor of love for me. I wish that I had been able to meet people like Alvin Krebs and Paul Pittman and so many others that I read about in working on this book. For the past 2 years, I have had the privilege of working with students who are carrying on your tradition of excellence at the Daily Mississippian, and I believe some of them are here tonight. With the students who've worked for the DM in the last couple of years, please stand up. One of the students who just stood is Alex McDaniel. Alex was named College Journalist of the Year by the Southeast Journalism Conference this year. And in September, she starts a job with Parade Magazine in New York. I will always treasure getting to know you all over these past few days. And I want you to know you are always welcome at the Student Media Center. Please don't wait another 100 years to come back. Thank you.